everybody, and welcome to the start of round number 13 of Season 3 of the Sunoco Elite Series. We are here at the Sunoco Royale, the special event we have had hosted every season from here, from Season 1 to here. And if you do not know how this works, because the system for this is a little different, there will be a link down in the description below that will tell you everything about what's going on here in Mid-Ohio. But for the first heat race of 2, for the people who have looked at already, know what's going on. The first heat race of 2 was already fully announced, ready to go a few days ago. We had our weekend practice. On the pole today is Alexander Rowe for this heat. They're about to get rolling alongside Cordell Paulson, who's having his best start of the season. But to get a really good start for the actual race, he'll need to finish high in the heat race. On row 2, Gatlin Downey starts row 2. Very good performance out of him for HHR, alongside Aiden Shepard for Team Flame Racing, which has already announced that they will be changing names next season to Roush Racing Enterprises. On row 3, Tommy Turbo, a name we haven't seen in a while. Tommy Turbo driving for a new team on the block, Shock Allison Racing, a one-off team. Gathered up 2 of the best and have opportunity to go rank A, but we'll discuss that later. Alongside Lorenzo Log, who has been here for a while. On row 4, you may see a scheme that looks familiar, but this is actually Vance Caldwell in the 95 driving James Constantine's old scheme, for the exact reason that you think, just to commemorate everything Constantine did for Epic Motorsports, alongside Eric Monaco, who has had a decent up and down season, but is looking to turn that around. He starts in a transfer position. And on the final row, you got Adam Vincent and Paul Jackson teammates, with Jackson being a championship threat now. If he can stay in a transfer position, the transfer positions is 10th place. There are 24 drivers in this heat, so you need to be in the top 10 at the end to be able to get into the main event out of the heats. If you don't, then you go through the semis. If you don't go through that, then the LCQ. And if you can't go through the LCQ, then you are just doomed. As you got some other one-offs in here, we actually got a lot of one-off drivers signing up. Jackson Harrows, one of them driving the 41 for WBM. You got John Arndt making his return in the 15 for Fitzwater Australia this time. You actually got a pretty big name, Scott Roush, who starts near the back. He had a bad qualifying. But Scott Roush in the 6 car will be driving for Shock Allison as well. That's Turbo's teammate for the time being. And oh my god. Sorry about that one, a slight interruption. But you also got the 79 car. John Bunnell is back in Mid-Ohio. He was here last season, and he's here this season as well. Melody Bowers for Maverick GP. You also got a few more in the next heat as well, but the big ones, the big one-off we're focusing on right now is Tommy Turbo, sitting on row 3. Very good job getting himself into a transfer position already, but he's got to let it stick. He starts P5. As we come around the final corner, this is where the Sunoco Royale all begins. In the heat races, 12 laps in the heat races, very short, but that's the point. Green flag is out in heat race number 1. Cordell Paulson with a really good push on the outside from Aiden Shepard. Could possibly get the lead, because Gatlin Downey did not have a good start. Oh! Roush on his roof! Oh no, that is not good, as Cordell Paulson has taken the lead. Let's go look at what happened to Roush. Scott Roush has an early incident for his first race back, as he would tag Torres, and just the lack of experience he's had for the past few months has really come back to bite him, and he would crash, and that's probably it for his heat race hopes, as he's probably going to have to go through the semis, same with Roger Ray and Sebastian Torres. Torres could catch up if something happens up ahead. But scrambling through the pack, Cordell Paulson currently leads, was actually able to get the lead, which we didn't really expect. We did really expect that inside line out of the first corner to easily take it, but I guess Paulson had other plans. Cordell Paulson leading. There's also a battle back here for fourth between Gatlin Downey and Turbo. Downey lost the car there for just a second. Oh my. And Turbo's lost his momentum. Starting to gain it back though. Up ahead, you see Rowe battling with Shepard. This is for 2 spots in the main. It's huge how many spots you can gain from this. From taking one position, which is why it's so crucial that Paulson's in the lead. Because no matter what, no matter which heat is faster, Paulson's starting on the front row if he can get this done, which will be a first for him. He just has to win. As it looks like Caldwell is going to be remaking that move on Jackson. Good move out of Vance Caldwell. Is now Jackson's new teammate, Jackson Harrows, trying to overtake him on the outside with Vincent behind him, trying to overtake Harrows. You see the whole WBM brigade except for Brock here. Brock will be in the next heat as well. Jackson registers in the 9th position, barely in a transfer spot, but Vincent is not in a transfer spot. The fact that there's a possibility that Adam Vincent will have to go through the semis is really scary for WBM. As Scott Roush is not far. Scott Roush has caught this pack, which is interesting, because that was the second fastest time of the race. Some big names down here who really have fallen since the start. John Arndt was actually really fast in practice, but he is just not showing the speed we thought he would in the heats. Arndt the same, but that's just because Roush the same, but that's just because of his crash. He's actually been trying to dig his way through the pack ever since. It's just, with the damage he's got, I don't think he can get it done, as there's only a limited amount of laps per heat. There's Pinocchio Young, who recently switched to Monarch Motorsports, trying to get himself through to the next heat. There's Benoit there, Veen running it wide. There goes Darren Weber. Oh, Darren Weber was already by. There goes his teammate Karenko, taking his position as Trailblazer, not having a good heat, as Sean Angel and Jake Baskinger, their one-off, will be in the next heat, as Baskinger is going to be making his return to the series. I believe all the rank A's have positions in the main. It's just low, because qualifying in the 10th position, if you'll go through the main, good, yeah, that means you're through. You don't have to go through the semis, but the problem is you're qualifying P20. As it goes off of the order you finish, the order you qualified in. So, oh, Caldwell tried to make a move on Turbo, doesn't work. And that's Jackson trying to retaliate on the outside, trying to take the position back. This is for 2 spots. Whoever finishes in front here will finish in front of the other one in the main, or start in front of the other one in the main, which could be huge for championship implications. And you also have to focus on the fact that Anderson has no championship rivals to worry about. Well, no, that's not true. He still does have Pericles in the second one, which he is 4th in points, who could potentially take the points lead out of this as well, but he is still about 130 points behind. But Pericles is also a threat in the next heat, so who knows. Downey trying to fend off Eric Monaco and Lorenzo Log. Downey tries to make a move. Oh, Jackson has a little issue. Gets held up and then goes wide. Jackson! Oh, the thought that Jackson could not make the main is something WBM just doesn't want. He's gotten it under control though, as that will put Vincent in the last transfer position. WBM all fighting for this last transfer position. Now it's a battle for 9th, but look at Gatlin Downey. held up the pack. Here comes Tommy Turbo on Lorenzo Log. As I see Tyler Faber's getting into this now. There goes Downey. As Cordell Paulson continues to lead, coming to 5 laps to go this time around. Tommy Turbo out in new territory for himself if he wants to get a win. Oh! Caldwell! Oh my god, that is huge. Oh. Oh my. Caldwell takes out Roger Ray and in the process eliminates himself from contention. Hits Darren Weber as well. Weber is out of the heat race. Ray is out of the heat race, and a steward's inquiry has been called for Caldwell. Uh-oh. Alright, now if Jackson can just slip into a transfer position, Caldwell will have to go through the semis. For something like that, they won't disqualify Caldwell. Maybe a grid spot penalty at the best, but it's not too huge for penalty, but he may get a penalty for that. Right now, it's Turbo leading this pack, but the leaders is Paulson, Rowe, and Shepard, who have a good 10-second lead over the rest of the pack, so these three are pretty much good, as long as they don't make a mistake. We'll be seeing these three in the main, which these are three really strong competitors. Cordell Paulson surprising people, though, as he looks like he may win this as long as he can keep the others at bay. Oh, I see Melody trying to challenge Jackson, but Jackson is just a strong championship contender who just made a mistake. Jackson, the pressure is on, and he's making mistakes. You can't be making mistakes. Not at Mid-Ohio, not in the heat races. Worst case scenarios, he ends up down there with Caldwell in the semi. Here comes Alexander Rowe. He's close. He has closed that gap. But now Rowe runs it wide, and Shepard's there. These guys can battle all they want. It's 10-second gap. It won't affect them when it comes to the guys behind, as long as they don't crash each other. The white flag is coming into the air, and Cordell Paulson still leads. Was able to grab the lead from Rowe off the start, and these three just checked out early. Didn't want anything to do with that pack behind, and it's a good thing they did, because that pack behind really had a big battle. Adam Vincent has a little front end damage, but they're allowed to fix damage in between heats and semis or heats in the main. They're allowed to fix damage, so that damage won't be too big of an issue as long as Vincent can just hold on. Jackson and Melody Bowers. Melody Bowers, the one-off driver for Maverick GP, looking very strong and looking very desperate to get into that last transfer spot into the main event. She doesn't want to have to go through the semis. No one wants to have to go through the semis or the LCQ. Here comes Melody for the last transfer spot. WBM. Oh, WBM is not liking what they're seeing. If Jackson has to go through the semis with Caldwell, that would be a disaster. Cordell Paulson wins the first heat. Rowe will get the second position. Shepard third. Turbo for Shock Allison Racing will qualify on the fourth row, and he will get P4. Monaco P5. Lorenz, Log, Downey, Vincent, Harrows, and Melody Bowers will round out the top 10. Paul Jackson, championship hopes, starting to dwindle, as he had a big chance to go to the main without Caldwell. He had his chance to go to the main without Caldwell, and it's just not gonna happen. He's going to the semis with Vance Caldwell, along with Caldwell's steward's inquiry, which is something we'll have to keep an eye on. but they're already setting up and lining up for the next heat, so I'm guessing we'll get news for that mid-heat. But yeah, good job, Cordell Paulson. He'll start on the front row for Clever Haas Racing in the main event. Not a good day for the leering threat of Trailblazer Motorsports, as the 7 and the 07, Cranko and Benoit got 15-16. They will have to go through the semis. Roush will go through the semis. Arndt will go through the semis. And with each semi only having 5 spots available, who knows? Congratulations, Cordell Paulson. We'll see him in the main event on that front row. Good job. Let's go to heat number 2. And we are back for heat number 2 of the Sunoco Royale, as we just finished up heat number 1 with Cordell Paulson winning that one, as they're already set up and ready to go for heat number 2. On the pole for this heat, qualified to be Zachary Fitzwater Sr., the current reigning champion, now sits in pole position alongside fellow Australian Jack Halleck. On row 2, we have Philip Scott, the legend, tied on the all-time win list for most all-time wins, alongside Chris Dodd, who is making his return to the series, but he's making it on Team Flame and not his own team, since his team was bought out by Maverick GP. On row 3, we have Gerard Oron for Clever Haas Racing. His teammate, Cordell Paulson, just won the first heat. Let's see if he can tie it together and possibly win the second one. Alongside Carson Bowers, who has 2 wins this season, if I'm correct. And there they go, getting ready to go rolling again. Who's, I believe, he'll have 2 wins already this season. Maybe looking for his third, but he'll have to get through the heats if he wants to have any chance of getting it in the first main event. On row 4 is Kansas winner Jeffrey Finguy, who just won it. Lots of celebration after that happened, but now game faces on here in Mid-Ohio as they're going to try to tie together another win, but they start on row 4 in a transfer position alongside William Brock, who, if we can get an eye on him, William Brock, who his teammates, 2 of the 3 of his teammates have qualified through the main. Jackson did not. He'll have to go through the semis. A bad or worst case scenario, I guess you could say in this scenario, would be if he did not make it through the heats as well. On row 5, we have Roman Rahal, who looked pretty strong in practice, this weekend-long practice session that we have. Mid-Ohio, pretty much a staple of the Sunoco Royale, alongside Nick Pericles, another championship rival of the frontrunners. Speaking of the frontrunners, Anderson has qualified outside of a transfer position, so he will actually have some work to do if he wants to do it. And our fastest in practice by a long shot, Jake Baskinger, making his return to the series. Jake Baskinger also did not have a good qualifying. He had an absolutely outrageously good practice, and overall in this qualifying, he just did not perform. Some of the other one-offs we see here, Kenny Myatt making his first start. I believe it's Julio Caesar making his first start. Ryan Griffin making his first start. Connor Hurley making his first start. Like I said, Chris Dodd, the one-off for Team Flame Racing, which is huge for that team. To be able to get Chris Dodd on their side, keep them going. He's a Sunoco Royale champion. He went 5-5 here in Season 1. If there's anyone to talk about winning the Sunoco Royale, it's him, because he's already done it in the past in absolute dominant fashion. Even when Trailblazer won both of the main events, he still got the overall for his team, and CJ Racing got the 250 points. Because on the line here, only in constructors this counts, but you get an extra 250 points for winning the overall for your team, which can be huge going toward ranking up or anything. Chris Dodd looking to maybe help Team Flame Racing today, as Zachary Fitzwater Sr., the reigning champion, will lead them down to the green flag in heat number 2. of the Sunoco Royale before we move on to the semis, which will be in the next video. But green flag is out as Philip Scott gets off to a bad start. Dodd gets off to a bad start, and it's just Halleck versus Fitzwater going into turn 1, but Fitzwater just absolutely destroyed him in the drag race. And Fitzwater leads early. Here comes Chris Dodd for positions. Like I said, if anyone knows how to drive here, it's Chris Dodd, as he's already challenging for second. Looks like just the outside momentum from Halleck, though, is going to demand himself to the lead. In that Dodge Snickers number 74 car. As Chris Dodd, Dodge BMW. As Chris Dodd drove with CJ Racing, his own team, for the first 2 seasons, dropped out after season 2, and is now back under Team Flame Racing now for Mid-Ohio. As his teammate right now, Jeffrey Finguy, currently sits fighting for that transfer position with William Brock and Andre Baranowskas. And we're also looking for Kieran Mulcher, who had a terrible qualifying as well. He sits near the back with all the one-offs and rank Ds. He'll have a long ways to go if he wants to make it to the main. Here's Max Anderson trying to make a move on Skyla Johnson. She is now last in points as Torres overtook her in points, so she's going to have to dig her way out of last. But Anderson actually lost position on the start. He's now 16th. This is what Caldwell and Jackson are praying for right now. And that is for Anderson to have a horrible heat race and give them another chance in the semis. Which means none of the big points contenders will be going through the heats. Other than a possible Pericles, but even Pericles is out of it right now. As Stucol is actually in the position. She is actually doing very well. Has Anderson improved? No, Anderson is losing more. Max Anderson. Something is not right with Max Anderson today, as Kenny Myatt now challenges for what is the 16th position. Only the top 10 go through to the main. We're still losing some people like William Duncan and Sean Angel as well. And obviously Nick Pericles, 4th in points. We would be losing all 4 of the top 4 in points. Not going through the heat races. What a plot twist that would be. But Pericles looks strong. He may get past Stucol before the end of this. So right now the last position is held by a battle between Stucol and Pericles, which is going to go back to Stucol. She's going to get it again. She's not giving up the hope of getting into the main directly through the heats. No other ranked Ds near the front like this. Literally not even close. Next ranked D down is Caesar, driving for Sabasport, the only Honda team on the grid. Fastest driver on track is Jack Halleck, who recently pulled a 124.7. Jack Halleck looking very strong. Could Halleck win it for Maverick GP? Get them straight through to the main in the front row. Right now, I believe they hold the inside line with the speed they have. Let me just check real quick. They actually do not. They don't hold it by a long shot. They got an entire mile/hour average to go up. 1.2, so they still have a little ways to go if they want to match Cordell Paulson. If they can't, then Cordell Paulson will get pole position for the main. No real big moves being made throughout the pack, as Anderson has made his way past Skyla Johnson. Now Max is going to have to work on Sean Angel and Roman Rahal, two of the most dangerous rank Cs, as Trailblazer has no one in the main right now. Is that Fitzwater has a tire going down? Oh my god! From the lead, Zachary Fitzwater has a tire down. And he's just going to have to limp it back to the pits. That's it. Fitzwater's going to have to go through the semis after a great qualifying, a great start to his race. And out of nowhere, Fitzwater just loses it all. This puts Pericles in the transfer position as we watch Fitzwater slowly limp across the track. Oh, there's definitely a tire down. As there goes Windhelm, slipping Fitzwater into the last position. And that's it. First to last in one lap. As Halleck will take the lead, in fact. Jack Halleck doesn't seem to have a threat of Chris Dodd behind. Dodd does not seem to have the speed Halleck has. Philip Scott in the third position. Now actually having a good performance for himself. Getting on the podium in the heat, gonna get him a row 3 start. Good altogether, but Stuckel made a mistake, and instead of utilizing the aid she got from Fitzwater going down, she loses the 2 positions she had, and now Pericles and Duncan are both in the main. Right now though, William Duncan sits in the last transfer spot now. Was 12th just 2 laps ago. Fitzwater dropped, and then he was able to grab the spot from Stuckel, and now Duncan is in the main. No other problems throughout the pack. 5-4. Dodd is 2/10 faster that last time around. Finn guy seems to be the fastest guy on track right now, pulling 125.3 still. Or Dodd, then Finn guy. So Team Flame Racing actually showing a lot of speed. But Pericles and Baranowska's looking fast. Duncan, okay, Stuckel? Stuckel was running the same lap Dodd is. That is incredible. Fitzwater is back out on track. See if he's able to match race speed again, or maybe his cylinder went down. He looks to be back up to race speed, so it looks like Fitzwater's right back where he left off. Except now he's in dead last, so they're just trying to get a little more practice for Fitzwater before the semi. Because we don't really have tire restrictions, so if they want to spend another set, they can. As Stuckel still sits on the back of Duncan, a chance is still there as long if someone makes a mistake, if Duncan specifically makes a big mistake. Stuckel could catch him, or if someone ahead has another tire issue. Because now we can all pretty much guarantee that that was a tire issue, because Fitzwater's getting back up to speed pretty quickly. Halleck continues to lead, 3 to go for Jack Halleck, the rookie. Looking to join Cordell Paulson on the front row. That's going to be an interesting front row for the first main. Paulson Halleck, but because of all those issues, these guys aren't even close to the kind of speed that Paulson was putting up. Paulson's average speed at the end of the race was a 95.7. Halleck is currently putting up an average speed of 94.6. So there's really nothing there. Pericles makes a mistake. Ooh. And Stuckel closes a little bit. But we're at 2 laps to go. Halleck is really just a tiny bit slower than Dodd. But a full 1/10.5 slower than Philip Scott, because Philip Scott is just, Philip Scott. Tied on the all-time win list with Brock for most of all active drivers. Which Brock just pulled a 125.1, which is his best lap of the race. So did Finn guy. Finn guy pulled the same kind of lap, a little bit slower than Brock's. Gerard Aron pulled one even faster than them. And Carson Bowers pulled a 125.4. So, and now Philip Scott challenging the back of Chris Dodd. The legend versus the Season 1 Sunoco Royale champion. as we already just lost the hopes of getting the reigning champion. Actually, Fitzwater's pulling 128s. He may have a cylinder down. That may have been the problem, because he's out on track, and right now he's not pulling anywhere close to something that's competitive with anyone. No, yeah. Fitzwater definitely has a cylinder down. Look at the speed difference. Halleck going into the corner has 10 miles per hour more than Fitzwater does. Fitzwater does have a cylinder down. Like I said, they'll be able to get that fixed before the semis, so nothing too big to worry about. But we're on the last lap, and Jack Halleck ties in a great performance in the heats and will start on the front row, will not get pole position. There's no chance now that he can overtake in average speed. So Halleck will line up second on the grid if he can hold on, as Cordell Paulson is pretty much locked in pole position, which is the first of his career. Jack Halleck, though, just has to drive around this track one more time and he will make the main in the second position. Dodd and Philip Scott continue fight for the second position in this heat, which is big because this is for 4th position or 6th position. Bowers is going to start 8th if they stay like this, and Gerard's going to start 10th. It's not really necessarily a battle for the last transfer spot anymore. Brock makes a slight mistake. There goes Audra Baranowskis. That's 2 spots for Audra in the main. Right there. And Halleck will win heat number 2. Dodd will come across 2nd. Phillips got 3rd. Bowers 4th. Gerardo on 5th. Finguy 6th. Baranowskis 7th. Brock 8th. Duncan 9th. And Pericles will be the last person to transfer through. Will line up P20 on the grid. And Stu Cole will have to go through the semis. Other notable names, Anderson will have to go through the semis. That is huge. Fitzwater will have to go through the semis. 3 out of the 4 Fitzwater Australia racing cars did not make the main through the heats. That's Arndt, Fitzwater, and Anderson. Carson Bowers did make it through to the main. Will line up on in the 8th position. Congratulations, not only Jack Halleck for winning the heat race, but Cordell Paulson wins pole position for Mid-Ohio main number 1. That's 5 extra points toward his championship. Good job, Cordell Paulson. We'll see him and everyone in their heat. Everyone who qualified through this heat, we'll see them all in the main event. Good job out of Jack Halleck, making it through to the main on the front row. In the next video, because we have limited time here, in the next video we will be seeing the semis in the LCQ, which will be shorter races but more chaos. So prepare yourself for that. Good job, Jack Halleck. We'll see you in the semis. Ciao.